Welcome to Discovering Home. I'm your host, Karla Monterrosa, a coach for moms who desire more time and flexibility for their home and families. I created this space to encourage moms because I believe motherhood is a valuable and worthy endeavor, and I don't see a lot of places or spaces where the work of moms is elevated. Academic and professional accomplishments, as well as climbing career ladders, are praised widely in our culture, leading young women to believe that homemaking and motherhood could be a waste of their God-given gifts. I want to change that narrative while encouraging moms and equipping them to walk confidently in their calling at home with their families. Because I believe home is holy work and motherhood is a ministry worthy of your time, energy, and talents. Whether you're a career woman desiring a change, a full-time homemaker, or a woman who one day hopes to have a family life in which she can prioritize her children, you're welcome here. I'm so glad you found this community, and I pray it will be a blessing to you at whatever stage you are in your journey. Last week, I shared our homeschooling story and the reasons why we chose to take charge of our daughter's education. And today, as promised, I want to share some of the questions we wrestled with early on as a family and how we were able to make homeschooling work for us. My hope is that if you are considering this lifestyle, that you leave today's episode encouraged and even emboldened to take your next step in faith toward a life with more peace, presence, and purpose at home. As I shared, in 2017, I made a bold countercultural decision and left a full-time government career to focus on my home and family. Initially, we thought the season would be a short pause to focus on our girls while I considered a career change. 8 years later, I'm still home and have no intention of returning to a career that requires all of me because I found so much more joy, purpose, and fulfillment at home than I ever did chasing titles and career success. In part, that comes from being invested in homeschooling our girls. Leading my daughter's education gave me a renewed sense of purpose. While a homeschooling life was not part of my original plans, I am tremendously grateful that God led us to it when He did. Our daughters blossomed in a way I couldn't have anticipated as a result of the change. Because we are home, I have been able to encourage and invest in their gifts and passions and speak into their lives and experiences. I see them and notice them growing and changing, and when challenges arise, I'm usually the first to hear about them. We are really close, and raising teenagers is so fun and at times very entertaining. Laughing with them over random silly things is one of my greatest joys. I often hear parents lament about how hard the teenage years can be, and my heart definitely goes out to parents who are experiencing a rough season in parenting their children. But by God's grace, that has not been our experience, and I attribute it mainly to homeschooling. Growing and learning alongside them has been a true blessing. It hasn't always been easy, and we did wrestle with a lot of concerns and questions, and I hope that hearing our story helps you feel more equipped and encouraged to take your next steps in faith, trusting that God will guide you through it, give you the resources and grace to know that you can do it too, if that is what your heart desires. I want to walk you through those questions today because my guess is that if you're on the fence about whether you should homeschool your children, you're likely wrestling with similar questions. I initially had many concerns about the logistics, how I would teach two very different children with unique needs and abilities, how I would manage my time, would I really be capable of this, and so much more. Over time, with practice, prayer, and God's help, we settled into homeschooling and found peace in the process, and most of these concerns have faded away. I've compiled a list of 10 questions today, and I want to walk you through the answers and how we make it work as a family, in the hopes that if you are considering homeschooling, you will feel more equipped and possibly even emboldened to take your next step in faith, trusting that God, who put this desire in your heart will equip you, bring you the right resources, and help you through it. First, what is homeschooling? Here's how I define it. Homeschooling is a form of private education in which parents take full ownership of their children's learning. The state mandates which subjects your children need to learn, but you have the freedom to choose your resources, your schedule, and your style of homeschool learning. As I shared last week, one of the first questions I asked myself was, is homeschooling legal? Initially, I worried that DPSS might one day arrive at my doorstep, asking why my kids weren't at school. I learned pretty quickly that yes, homeschooling is legal in all 50 states. Each state has its own set of requirements, so it's essential to check your state's homeschool laws before getting started. The best resource I can recommend is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. HSLDA is their acronym, and I will include their website as well as any other resources I mentioned today in this episode's show notes. HSLDA has an interactive map you can use to search your home state, complete with your state's requirements, and many articles for families who are exploring homeschooling. Number 3, how can I make sure I am complying with the laws in my state? In California, we have 3 options for how we can structure our homeschool legally, and we are required to teach the same subjects taught in public schools. You can easily establish your home as a private school by completing a simple private school affidavit each year. This is called a PSA, and it will establish your home as a private school in which you are both the teacher and administrator, and your child or children are your students. HSLDA has templates and samples and can provide guidance in this process if you reach out to them. Second, you can enroll your children in a charter or private school that offers an independent study or a homeschool program. This is a private school satellite program, or PSP, and that's what we do. My children are enrolled at a local Christian private school that offers a homeschool group as part of their independent studies program. This is the method we use and the one I'm most familiar with. Our daughters are enrolled in the independent study or homeschool program of a local Christian private school. We call it our homeschool group, and they handle transcripts, provide curriculum guidance, support, and even access to some on-campus and co-op classes. Each year, I submit our plans, including the curriculum I plan to use to teach each of our required subjects, and I complete grades and provide schoolwork samples for every subject twice a year. Each program has its own rhythm of check-ins and paperwork, but I've always appreciated the structure and support this model offers. It gives us the freedom of homeschooling, but also the covering and accountability of a school. The third is hiring a tutor to teach your children the mandated subjects. You might be surprised to learn that California is considered a low-regulation state when it comes to in-home education. You have options, as well as many resources you can benefit from if you're interested in homeschooling. Number 4. This one comes up a lot. Will my child have friends? People tend to think these kids are kept in a closet and never see the light of day, but that's just not true. I understand the concern, but it's just a complete misunderstanding. We all want our children to feel connected and have meaningful friendships. So I get it. The short answer, again, is yes, our girls have a very rich social life. They're involved in our church, participate in activities with our homeschool community, and have friends they've grown up with. And the homeschool group has been really key in helping us bring them together, often with educational opportunities and even field trips. Trust me, there is plenty of flexibility and community, and sometimes the struggle is to buckle down and focus because there is so much flexibility and opportunities to engage with others. Homeschool doesn't isolate you or your children. It actually connects you to a new kind of community, one that often feels like extended family. Number 5, practically speaking, how does this work on a day-to-day basis? Homeschooling looks very different from traditional school because we have flexibility. Flexibility to go deep into a subject when curiosity sparks, to pause when someone needs more time, and even the ability to move more quickly through subjects that come more easily to our students. How you homeschool depends on your children's ages and learning styles, as well as your own bandwidth. You know your children and yourself best, and you have the freedom and flexibility to teach them in a way that works best for your family. Number 6, how do I juggle different ages and abilities? This was really hard for me at the beginning. I have two very different children with very different learning styles and abilities. This question comes up a lot, especially for moms with multiple children and varying ages. When you're teaching more than one child, it helps to choose curriculum that you can use across grade levels. When I first started homeschooling our girls, I purchased a curriculum box set that covered all the subjects and had daily lesson plans fully mapped out for the whole year. Being a brand new homeschooling family, I felt we needed as much guidance and help as possible to get started, so that's what we did. I felt overwhelmed every single day because I could never finish everything in our curriculum's daily lesson plans. I was homeschooling more than one child with different ages and abilities, and I simply couldn't understand how people could accomplish so much in a day for two different grade levels without splitting themselves in two. It was beyond overwhelming, and I felt like a failure a lot of the time. It was truly disheartening. Then I learned about family-style curriculum. This is a teaching style that combines students of different ages and tailors assignments to each child's age or developmental stage. That was a game changer for us, and I have done this for our content subjects ever since. We break up our homeschooling days into morning and afternoon blocks. Go look up homeschool block scheduling or loop scheduling if you want to learn more about this scheduling style. It's such a gift. We begin our day together. We exercise and study the Bible, science, and history as a group in the morning. If we're doing a read aloud, we also do that together. We take a lunch break, and in our afternoon block, we complete their individualized subjects. I teach math, reading, and writing separately because my girls are at different levels in those subjects. This method has worked very well for us. I still can rarely finish everything I have planned in a day, but I have learned to lean into grace. We get through as much as we can in our group subjects and individual subjects and pick up where we left off the next time. We do our best and just keep at it. Our goal is consistent progress, not perfection. My favorite thing about this type of homeschooling is that you can adjust the lessons, assignments, or expectations for each of your children based on their ages and abilities. Over time, you'll find your own rhythm and what fits your family. But remember, homeschooling isn't about recreating a traditional classroom at home. Not at all. It's about creating an environment where learning happens naturally through life and relationships. So homeschooling looks different for every family, like I shared before. For us, it looks like grace. We don't always finish everything I planned in a day, and that's okay. We prioritize what matters most: time together, life skills, reading, praying, and growing in character and faith. Some days are structured, others flow more freely. Every day is a chance to disciple our children and grow together under God's guidance. Here's another one I hear from a lot of moms. Number 7, I just don't have the patience. How could I possibly make this work? This is a big one. I'll be really transparent here and confess that I too have fallen short in this area on many occasions. In fact, I would not have described myself as a patient person when I started this journey, but I have learned some strategies along the way that have saved me and my relationship with my daughters, while creating a much more peaceful and enjoyable atmosphere for our whole family. I realized that the moments when I lost my patience were usually due to a couple of things. First, I had placed unreasonable expectations on myself or my children. In many cases, those expectations weren't even based on values I held, but instead they came from comparing what we were doing to traditional schools or even to other homeschooling families. Second, I felt I was being pulled in too many directions. It was tough when I was trying to educate both my children with separate curricula for everything. And finally, sometimes I was just tired, had a migraine, or was PMSing. When I stopped comparing my day and my kids to what I saw others doing, I was able to relax a bit, celebrate small victories, and enjoy the experience so much more. I've learned to take better care of myself, listen to my body, take their cues, adjust when things aren't working, and rest when we need to. Sometimes kids are tired and uncooperative. On those days, I might assign independent reading, nature study, which usually means sending them outside to play with animals or watch the birds. I might turn on an educational video related to our Bible studies or history, or take a field trip to our local botanical garden or a learning museum. You really can have a beautiful, meaningful, and enjoyable homeschool experience if you are willing to be flexible and give yourself grace. Kids learn so much more when they aren't overly stressed or pressured anyway. You have the freedom and flexibility to make homeschool work for you and your family. Here's another big one. I'm not a trained teacher. How could I possibly take this on? Now, I know many moms wrestle with this question. It might even be the most common fear. I remember thinking to myself, I'm not a credentialed teacher. How could I possibly become my child's full-time teacher? But here's what I've learned. You don't need a teaching credential to be qualified to teach your own children. Traditional credentialing programs prepare educators to manage a large group of children. Much of what they learn is about managing 20-plus children at once. You don't have to do that. You're working with your child or children whom you know very well. You've been teaching them from the start. You taught them how to walk, talk, eat, go to the bathroom, and tie their shoes. You've been their teacher from the beginning, and those same instincts are with you today. I think about my own education too. I was brought up in the public school system and have a master's degree. This has been most helpful in giving me the confidence to know that I can do better. Forgive me if this sounds prideful, but knowing my children and seeing them learn firsthand has given me the courage to admit this. Another thing, and you should be prepared for this too, is that skeptical family members will question your ability to give your children a quality education. I get less pushback than I've seen other moms experience precisely because of my advanced education. They think that's what makes me capable of homeschooling my children well. Of course, it's helpful that I'm a lifelong learner. I enjoy reading and teaching. But let me be clear. I don't believe you need an advanced education to teach your own children. I know many moms who are doing a fantastic job at educating their children because they are devoted to their kids and doing their very best. Homeschool curriculum publishers design courses with parent educators in mind and give you everything you need. If you can read, you can walk through a script and teach your children almost any subject. Many also include video lessons, which I find very helpful. The math, science, and American history I'm teaching my high schoolers now all include video lessons. They are such a great resource and take a great deal of the pressure off of me. What if I don't feel I can teach certain subjects? That's a very valid question that I've wrestled with too. As your children grow, the subject matter will become more challenging, but you do not have to do it all on your own. You can choose to hire a tutor or enroll them in online or in-person classes for math or science, or really any subject where you want outside help. You could even team up with another mom and divide specific subjects between you. Homeschooling your children doesn't mean you have to do it all yourself. And another thing, Children learn through experience. Learning doesn't always mean they're sitting at a table with a textbook and worksheets. Life provides the best education. Your job is to prepare them for life. I like to expose them to a variety of experiences and lean into their natural gifts and curiosities. So there's a great deal of flexibility, and how you shepherd them through their learning really depends on you, your children, and your perspective. The biggest takeaway here is that what works for my child may be different than what works for yours, and you can structure your schedule and resources in a way that suits your family best. So start somewhere and then adapt and make changes. By the way, children are constantly changing too, so you'll need to make adjustments to keep up with their growth and development. So if what works now doesn't work later, ask questions and make changes. You can switch curriculum mid-year too, so don't feel like you can't make a change while leaving things unfinished when things aren't working well. I wish it weren't so, but I have bought curriculum in the past that I pretty quickly realized wasn't working for my kids' learning style or my teaching style, and I chose to push through the rest of the year just because I didn't want to jump to something new. I could have saved us a whole lot of grief and frustration had I been willing to change sooner. This has all been a big learning experience for us, but we have truly enjoyed the process. I don't know everything, and I don't need to know everything to do this well. What I enjoy most is reading to my children and learning alongside them. Homeschooling isn't about knowing everything or cramming as much information into them as possible every day. It's about teaching them how to learn in a way that is sustainable for both of you. Have you heard the saying, more is caught than taught? Kids learn more from what they see done consistently than from what we tell them. So model humility, curiosity, diligence, faith, and perseverance. And before you know it, you'll start seeing the fruit of your labors. You can model all of that imperfectly and yet faithfully as you grow and go through the curriculum together. Remember, God entrusted them to you and He will not forsake you. So trust yourself and lean on Him. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, He says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Praise God for that. Because I have lots of weaknesses, and yet the Lord is producing fruit in this journey that we're on. And it has given us tremendous peace, joy, purpose, and fulfillment. Where I fall short, He fills in the gaps for me, and I trust Him with the outcome. And finally, can I do this? The short answer is yes. You can totally do this. You've been educating your children since they were born. You are the most in tune with your kids. You know when things are resonating or going right over their head. When you sit down to work one-on-one with your child, or even as a group, you will know when your kids are checked out. You will know when they're grasping it and it's too easy and they're getting bored. You will know when it's too challenging and you need to take a step back. So trust yourself and trust that God gave them to you for a purpose. He will meet you where you are and equip you for what He has called you to do. And remember, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. If God is stirring your heart toward home, trust Him with the details. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next faithful step. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." You can trust Him. When I look back now, I can see how every one of those questions that went through my mind were simply an invitation for me to trust God a little deeper. Each fear and hesitation became an opportunity to experience His faithfulness and His grace firsthand. That's the beautiful thing about prayer, is that when you ask in alignment with His will and then He answers, it strengthens your faith in a way that nothing else can. So lean into Him, pray, ask questions, be teachable yourself, flexible, and willing to change. I didn't have all the answers when we began, and I still don't. But I can tell you this, saying yes to God's leading in this area has been one of the most transformative decisions of our family's life. It hasn't been perfect. There have been hard days and messy days, days when I've questioned whether I was doing enough. But there's also been laughter, peace, and moments of incredible joy because we've been walking this journey together with God, and it has strengthened our family in a really sweet way. As we wrap up, I want to share what I've learned on the other side of our yes. What homeschooling has taught me about faith, purpose, and finding joy in this slower, more intentional rhythm of life. At first, sure, it was overwhelming. I wasn't sure how to structure our days, how to get it all done, or whether any of it would even work in the long run. But I chose to embrace the process with humility, prayer, and leaning into grace daily. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew other families had been doing this successfully for years. I was humble and I asked questions. And when things weren't working, I looked for other options and made changes along the way. I didn't need to reinvent the wheel or do it alone. We joined a local homeschool group, as you know, asked lots of questions, and just stepped into it one day at a time, doing the best we could. Over time, we made those adjustments when something wasn't working or discovered new curricula that was better suited for our daughters' unique learning styles and personalities. Each day at home became an opportunity to go deeper, not just academically, but relationally and spiritually. We read together, explore history and God's Word, study science outside with buds. We bake together, pray together, laugh, and learn together. And the most surprising thing was I actually could do this. Not perfectly by any means, but by asking God for grace and provision every day, and by moving forward in faith. Somewhere along the way, I settled into the rhythm, and it's a rhythm that I truly enjoy. I love being home with my daughters. So yeah, homeschooling has been an amazing gift. It has given us more peace, purpose, joy, and fulfillment than I could have ever anticipated. Here's another thing that I want to share with you, and it's a little bit vulnerable. Before we decided to homeschool, I wrestled a lot with my identity. Who am I without my career at City Hall for so long? My value, worth, and sense of importance were tied to my job title and my accomplishments. When I left that behind, I didn't even know how to introduce myself anymore. In some social settings, when someone asked, "So what do you do for a living?" I didn't know what to say. I felt awkward and uncomfortable. I felt in limbo, caught between who I used to be and who I was becoming. Homeschooling changed that for me. I decided this is it. This is my thing. This is my calling in this season. I'm a homeschooling mom. And when I embraced that, it settled so much of that internal wrestling. Ultimately, I learned that my worth was never tied to my income, my education, or the title on my business card. My identity comes from being made in the image of God, from being a beloved, forgiven daughter of Christ. I'm a wife, a mother, a follower of Jesus, and that's more than enough. Homeschooling isn't who I am, it's what I do in this season. Just like being in city government wasn't who I was, it's what I did for a living. Ephesians 2:10 reminds us that we are God's workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which He prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So if He's calling you to this, it's because He planned for you to enter this new stage. Here's another little nugget I want to share, and it comes from my dear sweet mama. She often tells me, "Hija, when do you rest? I worry about you. You do so much. When do you rest?" And I tell her, "Mom, don't worry about me. I rest. I have time for what matters because I have flexibility. My days are full and busy, yes, but they flow in rhythm with our family's needs and priorities. I work in the margins of my day, building everything else around our daughter's homeschooling schedule and our church activities. And that's exactly how I like it. There is definitely a fullness to everything I'm carrying, but God prepared me in advance to walk in this season. So if you're a working mom considering coming home full time and you're wondering, what would I even do all day? Or how will I keep my skills sharp? Please know I wrestled with that too. Homeschooling gave me the chance to use my gifts in a new way, to flex different muscles, to create and to grow. You do give some things up when you become a stay-at-home mom. Financially, life looks different, but you learn to value and steward what you have more wisely. You don't lose your purpose, you redirect it. You don't lose your influence, you deepen it. And you don't become less intelligent or capable. You grow in new ways that you never expected. Homeschooling didn't take away my gifts. It gave me a new purpose. It gave me a new canvas. Remember this, Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. As I look back on everything God has done through this journey, I can't help but think of the woman I once was, the one standing at the edge of an unknown path filled with questions, fears, and doubts. I know that tug on your heart, that quiet wondering if God might be calling you to do something different, something slower, something that looks more like home. I created this space with you in mind. If you're listening with a mix of hope and hesitation, I know the fear, the doubt, and the excitement that all come wrapped together when God begins to stir something new in your spirit. Maybe you're in a job that's draining you. Maybe you're unsure whether to keep your children in public school, or maybe you've heard that quiet whisper in your heart that there's something more for you, but you're afraid to take the next step. Sister, trust God. Ask Him to give you wisdom, courage, and faith to move in a new direction. So wherever you are today, if you're wondering, waiting, or wrestling, know this. You can trust Him with your next step. He's faithful, He's gracious, and He will guide you every step of the way. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just need to take the next faithful step. The thing you never expected, like homeschooling, might just be the thing that transforms your home, your children, and your own heart. If you're wondering if now is the right time for you to leave your career to focus on home, I'd love to support you. Visit karlabmonterrosa.com to take my free quiz. You'll receive my free guide, The Working Mom's Guide to Becoming a Stay-at-Home Mom. And you'll also be added to my email list, so you won't miss any of my articles or resources to help you on your journey. And if you need additional support, I'd love to offer you a free 20-minute clarity call in which we can explore if coaching might be right for you. You can learn more and apply for coaching right on my website. Visit karlabmonterrosa.com/workwithme to learn more. And remember this, there is joy, purpose, and deep impact waiting for you at home. Not because it's easy, but because it's exactly where God can do His most intimate work in and through you. If this episode blessed you, would you consider sharing it with a friend or leaving a 5-star review? Your support helps more women find the peace, purpose, and freedom they're longing for. Until next time, keep trusting God, take the next faithful step, and remember, you were called home on mission with purpose for His glory. God bless you.